What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video, and I wanted to give a quick shout out to another YouTuber. He's got his own channel. His name is That One Time. If you are not a subscriber, I would encourage you to go check out his channel. He has an absolutely amazing collection of different vintage Star Wars figures with a focus on Luke. His Luke Farmboy, his Luke Bespins, Luke Jedis. I think he's got, really just all over the map with his Lukes, and they are both carded and loose examples, and just absolutely amazing stuff. So That One Time is his name. He doesn't post a lot, dude. You gotta post more often, man, because your stuff is super hot. But anyway, he watches my channel. Why, I have no idea, but one thing that he did request was to do maybe some more close-ups of my vintage Luke Farmboys. And I've got them all here in front of you. They are all licensed figures with the exception of this one up here. This is the Hungarian bootleg Luke Farmboy that I have in my collection. I'd love to get a Polish one. I know they're out there. I see them very rarely and occasionally, but they get sold so fast that it's really, really difficult to get a hold of one of those. But I have been looking for a Polish bootleg, unarticulated, early 80s Polish bootleg farm boy, but it's just really, really hard to find them unless you are really quick on the trigger. I mean, I'm not kidding. They sell within seconds on Facebook. So, but I do have these here in front of you, and That One Time, as I mentioned, wanted me to kind of take a closer look at some of these. And they're all over the map. I've got a Taiwan variant, a couple of Chinese variants, some Hong Kongs, and then some No Country of Origins, as well as a couple of double telescoping sabers, which we've talked about. All of these you guys have seen in the past, but I guess we'll just do a few close-ups just to satisfy listeners. One other quick shout-out before I begin is Bosk's Bounty. I learned about him through fellow YouTuber Blacked Out Ewoks. Boss Bounty is a great channel. He covers modern and vintage. And one thing that I've really enjoyed on his channel is a question and answer series that he does, where subscribers or viewers ask questions, and I'm going to copy him. Not that I have a huge following, but for those of you who do watch my channel and you do have questions either about me personally or about the collection, by all means, please ask. And maybe we'll do a video at some point if people actually care enough to ask a question. So, but anyway, I thought that was a great idea, and I really enjoy his channel. He's got just a really cool collection. He's very, very knowledgeable about the vintage collection, or the vintage collection, the modern vintage stuff, vintage collection. I think it's called Vintage Collection. I don't follow modern that closely, but Bosk's Bounty, if you are not a subscriber, definitely check his channel out as well. So anyway, let's take a closer look. I'm sorry to ramble on. Let's see what we got here. First, we've got, I believe this is the Taiwan. Yeah, this is a Taiwan two-line COO. This was graded 85 plus by Collector Archive Services. In my opinion, this is probably more like an 80-ish kind of grade figure. He's got some pink to the arms. But let's do a close-up here. I'll do a kind of a close shot on all these, so just to satisfy a viewer of my channel. He's got kind of the darker pants. Really, the figure is pretty immaculate, but he does have some pink to the arms. So in my mind, I think if this was graded by AFA, this would probably get an 80 or an 80 plus, probably an 80 plus. But nevertheless, a beautiful figure. There's the date stamp on the back, GMFGI, Taiwan, 1977, two-line. But beautiful glossy paint to the legs. And the saber is more of a translucent yellow, as you can see, with kind of a medium-sized tip. So, not as thick as some, but, a few other Luke's Farmboys that I'd love to get in my collection at some point would be the Glass Light or Glass Leet, made down in South America. That's one that I'd love to have. I'd also love to have a Spanish Pock figure. Those are extremely expensive. Very pale face. And, obviously the bad weld marks, which PBP and Pucks are known for. But I've seen a few of those go for sale here fairly recently. And I just don't have the money right now. Well, I do, but I don't want to spend it. I'm being really, really good right now. believe it or not, which is atypical for me. But I've bought plenty this year, so I'm being good. I do have a nice nest egg built up, but I'm just trying not to buy anything. But anyway, that's the Taiwan. I think these top two are China ones. Now this is one I just got back in my recent recasing from AFA, but this is the China blonde hair light pants, so you can see that. And that is a U85 figure. That one just came back with a fresh case. Do you think I said etched accessory case enough in my last video? I think I did, but anyway, but you can see there, he's got kind of the medium paint to the eyes. There's some deep, dark mascara eyes. Mascara Luke is what they call it. But these are the light pants. And we'll do another shot of the back here. It's kind of hard to see the trademark and date stamp because of the way AFA cases that. I hope they get their act together and change that. There's so many different alternative ways to case these figures, as Collector Archive Services and UKG know, but blocking the date stamps I think is just a mistake. I hope they fix that or change that at some point. But I do love the new etched accessory cases. It's a really beautiful thing. It's laser cut. So while I have it out, I think I'll go ahead and pull up my other China. This is my other China, and this is the blonde hair dark pants China. So let's take a closer look at that. A little bit, if I had to say, it's a little bit less thick on the paint on the face. So let's take a closer look here. Yeah, the paint is just a little bit less noticeable, but another beautiful figure. This one, again, has the date stamp blocked by the case, but let's take a look at the pant colors. And you can see the light versus the dark. So the one on your left is the China light pants, and this one is the dark pants China. So very similar, though, obviously. I think I'm trying to stay focused, guys. It looks pretty similar. Basically, it's just a slightly different paint application. So those are the Chinas that I have. I'm sure there's others, but those are the ones I have. Let's take a license figure break and do the Hungarian now. This is a Hungarian bootleg Luke Farmboy, very rare figure. This came with a Bespin style blaster, bootleg blaster, as well as a green saber. And I do not have those. The saber alone can go for $800. I mean, it's just crazy what people pay for the accessories. So I do not have one complete. My buddy Jim does have one complete, and it's awfully pretty. As I've talked about in the video for this figure, the thumbs on these Hungarian bootlegs break off extremely easy. And so these are intact. And this one has kind of a gray paint color, like a light gray, purplish gray paint color. But they do come in other colors. But this is a very, very nice example for what it is. So you can see kind of the paint rub on the eyebrows there. But beautiful figure. This came back with a 75 plus, which I was surprised it came back that low. But the paint on this is kind of faded. Obviously, you got some yellowing to the torso, but the pants themselves, this is a very faded paint based on some of the other examples I've seen. I'd love to have a complete one day, but not high on my list, given that I've got such a nice example of a Hungarian bootleg Luke. But again, people have already seen all of these figures in my collection, but I just got the request to do some better close-ups. You can see how loose the arms on these are very, very loose on all Hungarian bootlegs. So you gotta watch out for the thumbs, and the hands are very loose. So I had them, or Collector Archive Services, without even asking me, bracketed the arms just to keep them from bouncing around inside the case. But really nicely cased. That is not going anywhere. I believe the top two up here are Hong Kongs, but I'll double check and see. Yeah, this is a Hong Kong letter on saber hilt variant, so you can see that there. Early saber, a little bit less you can see how much darker it is than the China variant, a lot less, than the Taiwan version. The Taiwan version is very translucent versus this one, but very dark pants on this one. So this is the Hong Kong letter on saber hilt, and this is an 85. Beautiful figure. And then this one this one's got a history for me. This is a dark brown hair Hong Kong. And this is a U85 figure. And I've gotten a lot of flack from the collecting community for having this, because this is the only known example of a U-85 loose graded dark brown hair. So you can see their dark brown hair on the label. But somebody took this off of a card, believe it or not, and got it U-graded. And of course I bought it, you know, already graded like this. But this is one that probably should get recased. But I've taken a lot of flack from the collecting community for this one because it is U-graded. It's got some paint here, some very light paint there. I'm surprised it got the U-85 with that damage there. To me, this is more of a U-80 figure, but I will take it. But I've gotten a lot of pushback on this one because people just hate U-grading, and like I've mentioned in other videos, I don't buy U-graded figures now. I've gotten a couple as gifts, but very rarely do they come up. You can see how high the head sits on this one, the gap in the neck there. But probably overgraded if I'm being honest with you. I don't think this is a U-85 figure personally, but that dark brown hair is pretty amazing, really dark. And we'll compare that to, I'll bring him back up in a second, but we'll compare that to some of these. These are no country of origin figures. This is the brown hair, dark pants, no country of origin, so probably came on a Palatoy card or maybe a Tri-Logo card, but this one is an 85 also. So this is probably made in Europe, Palatoy most likely. But you can see how light that is versus the dark brown here. So, and then the better comparison is this light brown hair versus the olive hair, and it's just so close, the color, but you can see the one on the left has got more of a greenish tint to it. They're both no COO. This one is an 85 also, but I got a great deal on that one. It came up and I bought it quickly. They go for a lot of money now, the olive-haired Lukes. But you can see the difference in the hair color there. It's just very slight, but it's more of a greenish tint to it. So we'll just do a kind of a walkthrough on this one real quick for that one time. But this is a beautiful figure, very, very rare. And you can see the pant color there. It's a little bit more of a orange tint to the pants versus the other no COO. Very nice. So, but it's amazing how different all of the pant colors are across all of them. You can see just how much variation there is, even just on this bottom row here. And the last two obviously are the pride and joys here. This is a two-line COO Hong Kong, very early Luke with the double telescoping saber. And I got this one from my buddy Jeremy. I think, yeah, it's got a little chip down there on the foot, which I think drove the score down. It came back with an 80, but give me a break. This is a double telescoping Luke, and absolutely gorgeous. It's got a little bit of yellow to the figure, but two-line COO Hong Kong. If you want to see more on how they denote which Lukes go with the double telescoping saber, you can check out that video on my channel. But and then the next one obviously is the other telescoping Luke. Now these are both Hong Kongs, but you'll notice some slight differences in the face. The one on your left has the running mascara Luke eye paint. Let's see if I can get it to focus, guys. I'm sorry. It's hard to get this thing to focus. You can see how deep the paint is on that one versus this one. Just a slightly different paint and face sculpt. The face sculpt on this one is a little bit more angular and thinner around the chin and cheeks, whereas this one's maybe a little wider. But this one has an interesting history, as you guys remember. A friend of mine named Paul got a number of figures from a Kenner ex-Kenner employee that were either marked as engineering pilots or they were unmarked, but they all came in like the same grouping. And Tom Derby, the authenticator over at AFA, marked this one in the notes as being an unmarked engineering pilot figure. So they added the saber later, and this is a lettered saber, I believe, if I remember. But you can see how different the pant color is on this one. I mean, these are both early Lukes, but it's a slightly different color to the pants. Pretty close though. The hand colors are way different, and then the face sculpt and then the eyes are different, but very similar overall. This one is more yellowed. The one on your left is more yellowed, but this one is very nice and bright, but it's got some damage on the back and back here on the leg, and that's probably why I think that brown-haired Luke is really more of an 80 grade figure than an 85 in my opinion. If this one got an 80, then surely that one would get an 80 because it's got a little bit more damage to the back, but a beautiful figure. So unmarked engineering prototype or pilot. I always say prototype. That's the wrong word. When someone says EP, it really should be engineering pilot. So it's an unmarked engineering pilot. Usually what they did was, the Kenner employees would mark it with a black marker, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, to note that it was a pilot, a sample production figure before mass production started. This one was unmarked, but it was found in a box by the ex-Kenner employee, and he said the only reason I would keep this figure with the other ones is because it was also an EP. It just didn't happen to have the notes on it, or didn't happen to have the writing on it. Now, if this had the writing on it, as I mentioned in the video for this, it would be well outside what I could afford. It's probably anywhere from, depending on the grade, you're talking for an engineering pilot, Luke Farmboy. Gosh, I think you're probably easily talking $10,000. EP lesser figures like Walrus Man, Hammerhead, things like that, those go for between $5,000 and $7,000. So I think for a true EP that's marked and graded and confirmed by AFA as being an EP, that would be at least $10,000. So I paid a tenth of that for this figure, so it's something that there's no way I could have afforded it otherwise. But very cool to have in my collection, and that's really it. I mean, in terms of other Lukes, as I mentioned, we have the Spanish PvP or POC figure, Poch, whatever you want to say. We have the Glass Light down in Brazil. There is also, in terms of variants that I don't have, there's a Hong Kong with the light brown hair. This is the no COO, but there's also a Hong Kong that's a little bit different color. It's more brown than these and lighter than this. So that's another one that's probably attainable for me. And let's see, there's also a Hong Kong with the light yellow or light pants. I think this one is, if I remember right. It doesn't say on there, but there is another Hong Kong with the blonde hair that has a much lighter pant color than that one that I have there. So there's two Hong Kongs that are probably attainable for me, but in terms of loose grading. But for a nice carded figure, I'd probably have to save up for one, maybe one day, but not high on my list. But anyway, this was a request from a viewer, and so I just thought I would take a closer look at all of these, and I hope I didn't bore you too much. And that one time, I hope that was what you're looking for. But anyway, just let me know. As I mentioned, just if people are interested in doing a Q&A with me, and it doesn't have to be related to Star Wars figures. If you just have questions about me or anything, I'm happy to share. I'm not very private, as it were. I'm pretty easy to find on Facebook. So, but if you have questions, we can do a Q&A kind of session similar to what Bosk's Bounty does. But if no one cares, then we won't do it. So, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon.